welcome back to my channel for another video on the How I Do Fill in the Blank homeschool playlist. This was a playlist idea that I had this year after receiving so many questions regarding the same topics. How do you do this, Ashlee? How do you do this? And so I decided to create this playlist. So if you're new and this is the first video that you're finding, go check the whole playlist. I'll be adding videos to it regularly as I roll through this list of about 15 videos on different homeschooling related topics of how I do things as a homeschooling mom of 4 who's been homeschooling for a while now. Now, if you ever have any requests for a video on this playlist series, leave it under these videos, a comment, let me know, and I will regularly comb through these to make sure that I am including videos onto the playlist that you guys want to know about and see. Now, my standard disclaimer is this is how I do things. I am not telling you this is the way you should do them, and I am also not saying that the way I do them is better than the way that you do them. I am simply sharing this as a friend, a homeschool mom friend that you might have a cup of coffee with and say, hey, how do you do that in your homeschool? It's really for informational purposes only. So today's video topic is going to be, how do I teach multiple grades? This is probably one of the most asked questions that I get, is how do you teach multiple grades? With this year heading into this new homeschooling year, I will have high school, middle school, and elementary school. So how do you actually do that? This was probably one of my biggest questions when I was new to homeschooling too, was like, how do you teach so many different grades? So my answer to this question is, the first thing that I do to teach multiple grades is I find certain resources that I can use for teaching all of my children at once. This blanket is gonna bother me. This is often referred to as family style learning, group subject learning, whatever it might be. Now, you might be thinking, how can a high schooler learn what a child in elementary school can learn? Well, they don't, but they can hear the same information and take away different things from it. So a high schooler's understanding of something on a topic is going to be a lot more in depth than an elementary aged child. But that doesn't mean that you can't talk about, a certain topic and they both can understand it at their ability levels. Now, of course, math and things like that, it's just not possible. But there are things that you can do as a family, even with broad age ranges. In my experience, things like Bible, scripture memorization, read alouds, like reading books to your children, history, geography, those are all art, those are all kind of subjects, I guess you could call them, that I have found that you can teach, all of your kids using one thing, and they all are able to learn and draw from it. Now, so that is my step number 1 of how I teach multiple grades, is I try to find curriculums, books, resources that cover, a broad age range. Now, as far as juggling actual, like, my daughter is doing geometry and my younger one needs help with division, how do I do that? So the way that I do that is I intentionally purchase my children things that they can work on their own. Some people like to call it busy work. I like to call it smart. I intentionally purchase things for my older kids that I know that they can work on by themselves, and I intentionally purchase things for my younger ones that they can work on by themselves. I also will arrange their daily school flows in opposition of each other. For example, my older kids can do their gratitude journaling, they can do their wordly wise, they can do their silent reading of their assigned reader, they can do a lot of their schoolwork self-motivated, understood, they know what to do, and I'm sitting up there watching them, so they're completing what is listed. In those times, while my older kids are working on those things, that is when I am doing the instructing with my younger kids, teaching language arts side by side, teaching math side by side. And then there's a switch. So then my younger kids will go on to their gratitude journals, their wordly wise, their spelling practice, their reading, their typing lessons, like things that they can complete on their own. And then that is when I'm working with my olders, which it looks different depending on what kind of curriculum they're using, but that's when I'm coming over, making sure they know what they're doing, talking about things with them, verifying, yes, okay, good, you did good on that. Okay, what do we have left for this? And kind of doing those check-ins. So that's the way that I juggle teaching multiple grades. I first find subjects that I can teach all of my kids at once, and then I arrange their school flows in opposition of each other so that they're not all needing me at one time. And I intentionally purchase pieces of curriculum and resources and activities that they're able to do on their own independently, so that way I'm able to divide my attention up amongst them. Now, I do expect that my older kids have a greater patience level waiting for me for something than my younger kids. That is an expectation that I carry into my homeschool. And so oftentimes, if one of my older kids reaches something on a lesson that they're stuck on, they'll set that aside and work on something else rather than interrupting me when I'm like in the middle of explaining a math lesson to Olivia. That's the expectation that I've set, but I recognize when they need me for something. And so what I'll do in that moment is then try to wrap up what I'm teaching there and say, okay, now I want you to work on this, and I'm gonna go help Kylie or whatever, and I'll be right back. And so it's just having the expectations and understandings between your children that you're one person and they all need you and they can't all scream at you at once. And even though they might do that some days, it's like, whoa, don't, settle down. I am working with her. I will come over to you in a minute. And those are conversations we have often and probably will continue to have. But I wanted to answer the question, how I handle teaching multiple grades. That is how I do it. And of course, the curriculum that I choose is in my opinion, some of the best curriculum for having a lot of kids. There's a lot of things that they can read and understand themselves. It's not very teacher intensive, and that is an intentional choice on my part. Now, when I say it's not teacher intensive, that doesn't mean the quality is lacking, but that just means that it's not a lot of work on my part to teach that subject. And that is also important for teaching multiple kids in multiple grades, because like I said, you're like a ping pong ball going back and forth. So I hope that helps answer the question, how I teach multiple grades. If you have any questions about anything I said, leave them down below. And if you're loving this playlist, give me a thumbs up. Let me know your feedback. It's always fun to hear from you guys when I get a new idea. If you have a request for any videos onto this playlist, drop them here and I will make sure to make as many of these videos as I can. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you all in my next one soon. Bye guys.
Child, I know you're hurt and you can't let go. It's not your fault.